as this all progressed and all these different things were happening, long about circa 79, INSCOM was exploring all of these other things. And I think that there was at one point that I'm not even going to talk about some of the early places where the remote viewing program ended up. I think it was in the Pentagon once, and they got tossed out for some reason. And INSCOM took it in under its wing. INSCOM was first over by Arlington and then relocated to another place. I already said that you have Thompson, 3-star general, and you had Bert Stubblebine, enamored of this whole idea. This is when Joe McMoneagle would go to the Monroe Institute. And eventually, I think as Joe McMoneagle retired, he fell in love with Robert Monroe's daughter and married Robert Monroe's daughter. So now Joe McMoneagle becomes an integral piece of the Gateway program, the Monroe Institute, as it was called back in those days. And so does Skip Atwater. He brings Skip Atwater, his buddy, there, and they work now at the Monroe Institute. There was a discussion, and there's a piece of a document that's been released that shows that U.S. Army Operational Group, which was the remote viewing program, that they did it. They were asked to do this analysis of Gateway, and people kind of sort of half read stuff like that. And they jump on it like, oh, the Gateway program was part of the remote viewing program. No, it was not. The Gateway program and Robert Monroe's purpose, his intended purpose, stated purpose, was to use HemiSync to invoke an out-of-body state. That's what he was after. He used, sensory deprivation boxes, not tanks, all kinds of things, and it was a guided meditation, yogic kind of thing that walked you through these processes to try to get you to separate, to try to get you to have that experience. So it was experiential based. It was not remote viewing, and remote viewing is not that. So this June 1983 document gets out into the public as part of this CIA thing. And a lot of people have looked at that and gone, oh my God, well, that's the same thing. They're the same thing. And they are not. And that document clearly states that. That document is done by the operations officer at the time, who simply, there's some MI lieutenant, commander who was a lieutenant colonel. But what he does is he does a regurgitation of all these different, right? Pulling from all these different books that have been written about psychic phenomena and, astral projection and those things, and puts that down there and sends it to the INSCOM commander, Bert Stubblebine. There was some push to try to get, if you were at the Monroe Institute, you would have loved to have had, right, a government contract to start funneling people into there, and pulling them out and then say they're remote viewers. But the writing was on the wall. That's not what it was. And Stubblebine was very clear from that memorandum that this is not what I'm looking for. And so a few people had been trickling in out of the INSCOM, many of them exaggerating what they did and how they got there. And flat out lying about it. Like claiming that they were pulled back from Japan because Bert Stubblebine knew that they were, had psychic abilities. It's like, are you kidding me? But people will listen to that stuff. It's like, that is nuts. You think of some 2-star generals, running through personnel files going, oh, bring him back, put him in the Gateway program. And those individuals, I've heard them on podcasts and people ask them the question. I love this one. One guy says, and he was a signal intercept guy in Vietnam, and claims to have gone to the Gateway program, but claims that General Stubblebine, a 2-star general, brought him back as a E6 or something, and brought him back and pushed him into this program. And he came out and he said to the interviewer, he goes, "Well, until I heard the term remote viewing, I didn't know I was a remote viewer." So it was like, as soon as you heard remote viewing, you connected the dots and you realized a remote viewer. And he continued that statement with, and I was, I must have been working in the remote viewing program. because you went to the Gateway program. No, no, no. Even if that were true, that would not be, the outcome would not be true. So that was going on. The Gateway program did put a lot of material paid for by the government into the INSCOM programs. And most of it was subliminal learning tapes. I used to have the full set of the subliminal Russian learning tapes. I mean, I listened to them all repeatedly for a while.
Did it work?
I couldn't order a cheese sandwich in Russian. I couldn't ask for the bathroom, So it did not work for me. But maybe that's just me. But during this time in the 70s, 73, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up into the 80s, as long as Stubblebine was there and Thompson was still there, you could go on INSCOM and you would see young soldiers walking around with Sony Walkmans on their head. And they were listening to Hemi-Sync tapes. They were listening to tapes that were supposed to improve performance, mental focus, productivity, you name it. There was the Cat Napper. That was a great one. I loved that as an infantryman. I really wished I had it in the Ranger Battalion. The Cat Napper, you were supposed to listen to, in 30 minutes, you were supposed to get 4 hours of REM sleep. And there was a sound sleeper that in 4 hours, you would get 8 hours of REM sleep. Now, I doubt very seriously they ever had the technology to actually test that. But I will tell you, I used it. When those tapes were there, I used them. I just griped and bitched the fact that I didn't have them back when I really needed them, when we're living on 2 hours of sleep a night. So all that stuff was there because INSCOM commander Stubblebine was supportive of it. It ultimately ended up costing him his career and his reputation and cost him a third job because he was so supportive of it.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like, subscribe, and notification buttons. Additionally, if you have any feedback, please put something in the comments below. And lastly, if you want to watch the full episode of this clip, you can find it above. Thanks again for watching.